Shocking trouble if DC becomes the 51st state. DC could become the richest state in America. It would also have the smallest land area of any state, and it might only have a dozen full-time residents left in the federal district. That's just the beginning. Washington, D.C. already acts like a state in many ways. It has its own school system. It has its own police. It even has its own local government. But it doesn't have voting power in Congress. Not even one senator. Its 700,000 residents pay more federal taxes per person than any state. That's why its license plates scream, taxation without representation. If DC becomes a state, it won't just be renamed. Most of the city would turn into a new state. It would be called the Douglas Commonwealth. The leftover area would shrink to Capitol Hill, the White House, and a few federal buildings. That's only 2 square miles. And here's where it gets strange. The Constitution gives the federal district 3 electoral votes. That's thanks to the 23rd Amendment. But once the area is carved out, almost no one will live there. Only the president and a few top officials might remain. None of them can legally serve as electors. To fix that, the Constitution would need to be changed, and repealing an amendment is no small task. Politics are the real battleground. DC is deep blue. In 2020, 92% of voters backed Biden. Statehood would add 2 likely Democratic senators. Republicans call it a power grab. Historically, states have been added in pairs to keep the Senate balanced. Some suggest carving out a Republican state of Superior from Michigan. But even if statehood passes Congress, it won't be over. A Supreme Court fight is almost certain. Some justices could argue that the founders never intended DC to become a state. James Madison warned about giving too much power to the Capitol. The current court isn't friendly to the idea. In 2021, it ruled that DC residents aren't entitled to voting rights in Congress. And then there's public opinion. A 2019 poll showed 64% of Americans oppose DC statehood. That includes over half of Democrats. Why? Possibly because DC is home to lobbyists, contractors, and bureaucrats. They're the faces of government distrust. Some fear a DC state would tilt power toward the elites. And here's the final twist. If DC wins statehood based on race and representation, others may follow. Red counties and blue states are already pushing to split off. A DC state could fuel a wave of secessionist movements across the U.S.